Thank you for coming and welcome.
So we have a special day coming on next week, this week actually, Europe Day. Tell us a little bit about what Europe Day is and what will be the activities in the context of Europe Day.
Yeah. So every 9th of May, this year it's Thursday, next week's Thursday, we celebrate the European Union Day, EU Day, which is actually the day when Mr. Schuman gave his declaration, the so-called famous Schuman Declaration, making sure that the war in Europe would end, because as you remember, Europe has had...
And there would not be a third one.
Exactly. Europe has had several wars, the First World War, Second, and after the Second World War, Mr. Schuman got this idea that now we need to stop. We have to stop for good, no more wars in Europe. And that's when he gave the Schuman Declaration to unite the peoples and the nations of Europe and to cooperate amongst those countries who were at war at each other, namely it was France and Germany, so to put together their steel and coal production. And it's been a successful project because there hasn't been any wars for over 60 years in Europe. So in terms of that, it's been a successful project. So this is what we celebrate every 9th of May. And also you might remember that some years ago, EU got a Nobel Peace Prize for its work in promotion of peace and security and stability in Europe. So this is what we are going to do next Thursday at Plaza. Very happy to do it in a very Mauritian venue again this year. But during the week, we call it EU Week, so we have a couple of other activities also next week. And we will kickstart it on Monday, the 6th, by Gender Policy Dialogue. We have had this gender policy dialogue with the government for over a year now, and this is the second time that we meet with the minister level, namely the Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Gender, and we discuss progress being made and what we have been doing together and the future prospects of this.
Ahead of the day and the week of celebrations, we're expecting a very high-level visit. Which is it?
Yes. So tomorrow, 1st of May, we will get a Commissioner for International Cooperation and Development, Mr. Mimica, official visit to Mauritius. So he will have a big day on 2nd of May when he will meet with the Prime Minister. He will meet with the Foreign Affairs Minister together with various 5 other ministers to discuss the EU-Mauritius partnership, and then he will also meet with the IOC Secretary General. And one of the reasons he's coming is that he will sign 2 important programs, financial programs during his visit. One of them is with the Prime Minister, which is our bilateral program on tertiary education, innovation and research. And this is to support Mauritius to become high-income country in terms of its modernization agenda. So I think EU is really a key partner for Mauritius in its modernization agenda. And second big program is a 28 million program, a regional program in terms of maritime security, port security in the wider region.
So let's open up the discussion a little bit. You've been appointed ambassador in Mauritius since almost 4 years now. During your mandate, what would you say are the projects or initiatives that have been the most meaningful ones in your tenure since now?
So there are at least 4 areas which are very close to my heart. And where the whole team of the delegation has been active, because this is team effort, obviously. But one of them is gender, and I just mentioned the gender policy dialogue that we have started a year ago. And because I really feel that this is something that we can share best practices and to increase the gender empowerment. It's about gender empowerment, gender equality. It's about fight against domestic violence and abuse. So fight against discrimination. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do together, and we've been doing together with the government. The policy dialogue is one, but also we've been supporting in terms of drafting the children bill, gender equality bill, and the adoption bill. And now I hope that those bills will soon be passed at the Parliament. A second area where I'm very happy that we have achieved results and we've been very active is climate change. And there, when I took office 4 years ago, there was this big project proposal of 3 million euros, which we started working on, and I'm very happy that we have seen the results of this now, because we have been giving 3 million euros to Mauritius and Rodrigues to fight climate change. And for example, 1,000 small farmers have received funds how to adapt to climate change, how to do better crops and farm better. And then we have also established the climate policy dialogue with the government. So this all goes hand in hand. Third area, I would say, is in terms of business competitiveness, where I've been very happy that we have started to implement this e-licensing program, this national, the so-called NELS program, which is implemented by EDB, but it's basically most of the financing, if not all financing, comes from the European Union. So this is really our flagship program in Mauritius, is to support the process of permits, business permits, work permits, and licenses, and set up a digital platform to fasten the process, to cut possible red tape or other forms of malpractices. So I think this is very good because it can really contribute to the doing business in Mauritius. And this, like I said, is really our key program in Mauritius. And I would say a fourth area that I was very happy that we did some months ago, we did with the National Human Rights Commission, because we support them. We did a panel discussion together with the government, with stakeholders, civil society, and so on. We did a discussion on LGBTI rights. And I think this is an area where there haven't been so much public debate about, and I was very happy that also through our support we did this together jointly with the government.
So 3 of these 4 areas that you mentioned are not strictly economic or trade or investment oriented. How much importance did you actually give to the fact that EU-Mauritius relationship is not strictly an economic and a trade relationship?
I think it's very important because I would say that we are solid partners, we are historical partners on various fields, but I think our partnership now is geared towards the future. And it's much broader than just giving funds or purely economic relations. It's a broad partnership which, in my view, needs to be based on joint values and joint interests, and also in terms of supporting the global rules-based world order. So I consider that we are partners in various fields, be it climate change, be it maritime security, but obviously I think the trade relations remain key because European Union is the biggest export market to Mauritius. So there again, it's a modern relationship. It's about trade and it's about investments, also because most of the FDI comes from Europe. So does most of the tourist arrivals come from Europe. So I think we have a very broad and solid partnership on various issues, but we should not forget the political partnership and the partnership based on values and joint interests.
Speaking about values and rules, EU champions governance rules, and right here in Mauritius we are approaching general elections in the country. We still do not have, for example, a Freedom of Information Act. We still do not have a comprehensive law on political financing. How strongly has the EU encouraged maybe the government to enact such laws?
We worked a lot together with the government on some of these issues, and I named a few. Through our political dialogue, for example, we have a yearly political dialogue where we discuss all these important issues in our partnership, be it trade, be it cooperation, but be it the values and the governance and human rights. So that's an avenue for us to have in-depth discussions and discuss in a friendly way how we can work together in this field. But then we have also supported many of these processes, like I just mentioned, the Children's Bill, the Gender Equality Bill, the Adoption Bill. So there are also other ways of working together in promotion of human rights and good governance. For us, we have a human rights country strategy paper where we have identified that especially in the field of children's rights, gender rights and LGBTI, there are avenues for working more together.
But how about these two issues, very fundamental in any democracy? Political financing and access to information.
Yes, I agree with you. These are important issues and fundamental issues, and these are issues that we discuss with the government in our political dialogue.
So, from far, probably, Mauritius might be considered as a model democracy, and we rank very highly, or first actually, often in Africa in terms of democracy. But, well, we can have a different approach when we see things from here. What are maybe not the so great local complexities that you've had to deal with as ambassador of the European Union in Mauritius?
Well, like I said, how we want to work is that we identify these key areas where we see that there's joint interests from both sides, and based on these joint values. I think Mauritius and EU share a lot of these joint values also internationally. We would like to consider Mauritius as a partner in terms of supporting the global rules-based world order, be it human rights, be it good governance, be it maritime security, climate change. There are various areas where I think we can partner together to make the world a better place. And locally here, it is through these issues like I just mentioned, gender. We have identified that that's an issue that where actually things can be moved forward in Mauritius. Gender equality, gender empowerment. This is also good for the economy. It's not only about values, but it's about economic growth.
But you would remember, for example, how polarized the debate got on the LGBT issue, and how people were rallying on the streets to protest to official things that were going on.
I see that the role of the EU is to raise these issues, is to sensitize, but to work with local partners. I don't think outsiders can come and make a change and make strong statements. Change needs to come from each society itself. And if we can partner to bring about that change, then I would be happy to do so.
Before moving back to the EU-Mauritius bilateral topic, let's talk a little bit about EU efforts in the region regarding topics like sustainable development, sustainable fishing, adaptation to climate change. How efficient has the EU, being in making islands of the Indian Ocean region, collaborate on such huge scales and on problems that are so global, so overwhelmingly global in certain cases?
Yeah. So we have a lot of regional projects. This is a regional delegation. That's why we are quite big here. We have a lot of not only Indian Ocean, but also programs which go across Africa, continental programs as well. But the Indian Ocean Commission is one of our key partners here. So over 80% of the programs that the Indian Ocean Commission implements are financed by the European Union. So we are a key partner for them. And just to name a few programs where I think which have been quite successful in my view, first is maritime security. I think this is really key for these islands here in the Indian Ocean. You have vast oceans around yourselves, the economic zones, and you need security around the oceans. We also need security. Everyone needs security. So on maritime security, we've been doing a lot through IOC, through the Maritime Security Program, the so-called MASE program. And I'm happy that there will be the second ministerial conference on maritime security very soon as well. And this is jointly funded also by our MASE program. And then there's the Operation Atalanta, which is the anti-piracy operation in the Indian Ocean. And then we have a Crimario program as well, which is about maritime security in this neighborhood. And now the new port security program that the commissioner is coming to sign here with the Indian Ocean Commission will be a game changer as well, because it will address the issues in the ports, the security issues in relating to the port management, port security management. So that's one area where I think we have done good progress, and obviously more needs to be done, and continuously. But we will. Is
the EU satisfied with the amount of effort that each of the beneficiary countries has put into collaborating over these issues?
Our aim is that we are here to support the local and regional efforts. So because the operations like Atalanta and all that, they cannot be there forever. So our aim is to strengthen the capacities of the countries in the region, and we've been very happy that there is now this operations center in Seychelles and the information fusion center in Madagascar, and that countries in the region have signed up now to these information sharing and joint operations at sea agreements, which actually make those centers operational. So I think that's a big step forward. Obviously, every country needs to nominate a focal point on maritime security and increase the coordination and sharing of information, which is never so easy. But I think these are big steps forward, which the countries in the region have taken. And then I think a second area also, which is again linked to the oceans, is the ECOFIS program and the fight against IUU. Because there again, the region has come together in terms of joint patrols at sea to fight against the IUU, and this has been financed by the European Union, and we will continue to finance it also.
So let's move to the bilateral aspect of the cooperation. 3 years back, we were sat just here having an interview, and it was one of your first interviews, and you were saying that Mauritius needs 2 things: trade and investment. And this is the basis of the relationship between EU, new relationship between EU and Mauritius, and not aid, but trade and investment. Do you still stand by that? Have the 4 years you've been here comforted you in this approach?
Yeah, I think that's clear. I mean, it has to be about trade and investments in a country like Mauritius, which is a very vibrant economy, very developed, and it's aiming to become a high-income country. So really, this is the area where we can work and increase. So I hope that, and that is also the reason why we are embarking in these discussions to deepen our economic partnership agreement. This has been the request coming to us from the region. There are 5 countries with whom we have this economic partnership agreement. It's Seychelles, Mauritius, Madagascar, Zimbabwe, and now Comoros. So they have requested that we should upgrade our economic partnership agreement also to include issues like investment and services. And there are preliminary talks going on now, and I hope that the talks will go well so that we could actually fairly soon launch a formal negotiation process. So yes, I'm convinced that it's about trade and investments, and not about aid in a country like Mauritius.
So what would be the future of that relationship in the medium and the long run? Would it mean that the relationship would be based only on trade and investment and no longer on aid, or would the aid component still be existing, but maybe would be way less than what it is right now?
Yeah. This is actually what will be discussed in the post-Cotonou discussions, because as you know, yes, as to post-2020. So and Mauritius is part of the central negotiation team of the African Protocol. So they are well placed to position themselves and express their positions to the team. And actually, this week there will be key negotiations in Eswatini on the Africa Protocol. But yeah, so these kind of issues will be discussed at these talks, that what kind of the future relationship will be with various countries, not only with Mauritius, but various countries which have various different levels of development. I believe very strongly that aid and partnership will continue to play a role, because, for example, Mauritius has certain vulnerabilities in terms of climate change, for example, in terms of lack of connectivity, being a small island, so the SIDS challenges. But the partnership, this needs to be based on a bit in the different issues than it was 10 years ago. So aid will certainly be there, but it might be a bit different. We have new instruments also, like the European External Investment Plan, where you can blend grants to loans, or you can also de-risk investments and so on. And you can provide technical assistance. So I think these kind of areas, they link to climate change, SIDS challenges, and technical assistance programs and blending operations. I think they will continue to be there also in the future.
Speaking about trade, back to trade, local activists believe that, for example, the fishing agreement between the EU and Mauritius is largely in favor of the EU, since our local processing plants need to buy fish from vessels that are from the EU, and while at the same time local operators are not incentivized to go and fish in our territorial waters that are so huge. How do you respond to these criticisms?
Well, I think the fisheries partnership agreement, combined with the economic partnership agreement, it has made possible for Mauritius to become a big tuna exporter to the EU market. I mean, you are one of the biggest exporters of canned tuna and tuna loins to the EU market. So you are a big ocean export country globally. And this is because we have the fisheries partnership agreement and the economic partnership agreement. So combine these two agreements, I think will be very beneficial to your export sector. Secondly, the fisheries partnership agreement is also about supporting sustainable fishing, because it sets up a mechanism which is monitored by both sides, and a joint committee to discuss any areas. And it comes with support to the fisheries sector here in Mauritius. For example, support to the artisanal and semi-artisanal local fishermen. And also, as a novelty, it also supports now the setting up of the ocean economy, the blue economy. So I think the fisheries partnership agreement might not be perfect, but I think it has provided a lot of benefits to Mauritius.
We started talking about the Cotonou, post-Cotonou agreement. February 2020 is the cut-off mark, and discussions, as you rightly said, have already started, and negotiations are on. Do you have a very precise understanding of how Mauritius might be better off in this new context compared to the actual one, or the previous one, actually?
Well, I would say that things have evolved, things have changed, the world has changed, Mauritius is much more modern and developed than it used to be before. So taking into account all these changes, I think this is how we need to base the negotiations. And this is also, I think Mauritius have very good negotiators, especially in terms of trade and also in other international fields. So I think Mauritius can bring about its experience in terms of the challenges for the SIDS and be kind of a spokesperson for the SIDS challenges in terms of the African group.
So the European Union is also a political entity, and right now, it plays a central role in trade and investment with Mauritius, while at the same time we see countries like China, India, and even the Arab countries who are increasingly positioning themselves as the new development partners of Mauritius. Does the EU want to maintain some kind of a central role as a development partner, or would you be fine having the third wagon or the fourth wagon in the development chain of Mauritius?
I think the EU is the key partner of Mauritius, and I think we will also remain so in the future. And I'm talking about partner, not only development or trade. I'm partner. I think we are the key partner. We will remain the key partner also in the future. And why? Because I think we will be the key partners for the modernization agenda of this country. And this is a key message that the Commissioner will also give, that our bilateral program is really in support of Mauritius' modernization agenda. It's about addressing the issue of skills mismatch, the education, innovation. This is what also the e-licensing program is about digitalization, about doing business. So we see ourselves as partners of Mauritius in its path towards the high income and towards a modern country in the future as well.
Let's go back to EU inner workings. Maybe it's been 3 years now that the UK voters have decided to opt out of the European Union. We're nowhere near the final exit of UK from Europe right now. How has this affected, if it has, the future of the EU?
Obviously, it's been a long discussion, the Brexit discussions, and a lot of human resources have been put into it, both sides, I would say. So it has taken a lot of time. And you know that the next stage is in end of October. But for the EU, I think what is very clear is that the EU 27 have been very united around this issue. So this around the talks, and so the 27 has been able to come up with very strong common positions. So this is something which I really want to say. And I think it has become clear also that whatever the future will be, if it will be EU 27, EU will still remain an important global power in terms of trade, in terms of politics, in terms of investments or development cooperation.
So Brexit does not, in effect, lead the way to EU 26, EU 25, EU 22?
I don't believe. I think that has been very clear until now, that the 27 have been very united around this issue, and I believe that there are no further news in this regard.
Speaking about unity, the EU has been constructed on some very forward-thinking values right from the start: openness, solidarity, and prevention of war. The Brexit vote has been fueled by fear. In the recent years, and just months back, and weeks, we recently seen in many European countries that nationalists parties, inward-looking parties, have been relatively successful. They have not necessarily won, but been relatively successful in elections. Sometimes these parties are openly xenophobic. Should this be a cause for concern for the construction and for the values that the EU stand for?
Well, and we will have European Parliament elections coming up now in May, also, and a new Commission coming up, followed by that. I think there is a big discussion in Europe, and this discussion needs to be taken seriously. I mean, it's between the traditional parties and these populist movements, and so there is a discussion, there is a change in Europe, which needs to be taken seriously. I wouldn't be alarmed by it, but there is a change, and it's about hearts and minds, I would say. It's not about facts and so on. It's more about it's hearts and minds, winning the hearts and minds towards one goal. And I think it's also linked to the bigger issue of globalization and how the world has changed. It's happening everywhere, not only in Europe. So the world is changing, and I believe, and we believe, that this change in the world actually requires that we work closer together so that EU is more needed than it was needed 10 years ago, and that all the countries should really work towards a global world order and rules-based world order. So international cooperation, I believe, and at the EU we believe that this is at the core, this is key for the future.
Speaking about change, you just talked about the EU elections, the European Parliament elections that are due end of May, just in a couple of weeks. It is feared, many analysts fear that these inward-looking parties, populist parties, will have, in relative terms, an unprecedented representation within the European Parliament. Should we expect some kind of policy shift from the EU if this happens? I mean, if they are better represented in a proportion that never happened before in the EU Parliament?
Yeah. First, we need to wait and see what are the results of the European Parliament elections, and how it will be reflected in the future positions of commissioners and so on. But I believe that EU is a reliable and solid partner, and there would not be any major shifts in the EU policies towards third countries. You might also remember that there was a Commission proposal when now we are discussing the future budget of the EU, and the Commission proposed an increase of 30% of the external budget of the European Union, which basically means the budget towards third countries, because the Commission felt that this is actually what is really needed if we want to promote peace and stability in the world.
Ambassador Saab, thank you very much.
Thank you.